So it's your studio in Australia? Which city are you?
No, this is my home office.
Okay, the same for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working on a video, so I've been writing music. You'll see the keyboard and everything set up there.
Wow, nice. And do you have a photo studio there in your home office?
Not the home, no. I have a large studio, so the studio is about 380 square meters. So it's a bit too big to fit in a house.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, if you remember, we were together in Milan. I attended your workshop, what, 4 years ago? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that was ages
Quite
ago.
some time. Well, I was really impressed.
Well, we were hoping to get there this year, but some silly virus stopped us.
Yeah, we hope that we'll be able to have your workshop one day in Istanbul after this virus craziness will end.
Yeah, it'll be good once that finishes. But at the moment, Australia's sort of locked every country out. So if we leave, we have a lot of trouble getting back home.
Yeah, it's better to stay home these days.
Yep.
Okay, let's start. I want to share the knowledge you have with our people here in Turkey, because when I was in your workshop, I was really impressed to see how you use the light. I remember something very clearly that you said, even with just one source of light, you can have beautiful pictures, and you did it. You showed us there. So,
well, we only have one sun, and if you think of how many amazing photos are taken outside,
yes,
and how many different looks we get out of one sun, well, we can do the same in the studio.
Indeed. So let's start from the beginning. How you started to photography? I mean, what was the reason? How did you learn from the school, some courses, yourself? What was the story of your photography?
Well, I got given a camera when I was young, and I was keen into music as well. And back when I was growing up, there was no such thing as CDs or that. It was all vinyl. Cassettes had only just started to come in, and I was in bands, and camera, let's make an album cover. Not that we even made them album, but I wanted to make the covers. Mm-hmm. So, and I just had a little Kodak Instamatic, which had no controls on it whatsoever. It was just point and click. You couldn't focus, you couldn't set anything. But I still managed to create just by creating stuff that I could see with my eyes. And then when I lifted the camera up, it got what I saw. So a lot of it was like silhouette work and things like that. As I got older, my parents didn't want me to just be a muso because I was into rock music and that. And they said, no, you're never going to have a life just being a muso. So they said, well, why don't you, follow your photography and get a life in that area? But when I went to the schooling, I only lasted a month because I just couldn't deal with the rules. They had all these rules about what I could do and what I can't do. And I'm not an easy person to teach at any time because I do have dyslexia. So I have trouble learning in other people's ways. I learn my way. And all their rules and that. And they couldn't tell me why these rules had to be. They just said, you just have to do it. He said that you're breaking the rules. You can't do that. So they literally kicked me out, gave me my parents their money back. And I went into, they let me do sound engineering. And the big difference is the sound engineering had no rules. So to give you an example of that, in photography, if you clip the whites, it's a no-no, right?
Yeah.
So the worst thing, one of the bad things you can do is either clip the whites or block up your blacks. In music, they have things that you put your guitar in which distorts the music, which is clipping. And everybody loves the electric guitar with the distortion on it. And it's sort of like, there is no rules. It's you can do whatever you like to create the sound you want. And I truly believe that photography is the same. You should be able to do anything you like. You can clip the whites, block out the blacks. If that's the look you're trying to create, there's nothing wrong with it. So anyway, music went on, and I sort of worked through that and just worked through my life, and photography just became a hobby. And I was using photography, like I used to love fishing, so I'd always take a camera with me, and I had a business in fishing, and I started using my photos in ads, and the next minute one of the fishing magazines wanted me to take photos for them because I liked my photography. Up until this stage, I was self-taught, completely self-taught. All my gear was manual, all my lenses were manual. And then as the digital came in, I made the transitions a bit to the more the automatic side of things, but I still didn't like I handled the autofocus for, doing magazine work, but I never used auto exposure. And all of a sudden I just started really enjoying it. And I did one studio shoot for a lifestyle magazine and fell in love with it and said, no, I want to shoot fashion and people and stories. Editorial's fun, except even though I could manipulate the story was still set by others. So, if we caught nice fish, I'd always be looking at somewhere nice to photograph the fish in the way as we didn't kill them. So there was quite often, if it was a trout, we'd try and find a little black back pool where we had good light, and I could photograph the fish underwater while someone was holding its tail, and we could drop an insect on the surface to look like it's about to feed. So we could manipulate the story like that, but I couldn't just start from scratch. We had to catch something before I could do anything. And once I got into a studio and worked with an advertising team, it was more like, this is great. I can create. It's like a painter. I can do whatever I want. And that was the start of me working in being a commercial photographer.
So did you work for magazines as a fashion photographer?
No, I was working for lifestyle and fishing magazines, and then I just took a plunge one day and said, that's it. I had another business at the time as well. I sold that and said, no, I'm going to start from scratch. I'll shoot weddings, parties, anything. I'll shoot anything that pays me money, and I'll learn my skill. But what I want to do is shoot for advertising and fashion. So I just hard work, long hours, hard work, and pretty much shooting anything. If it was paying, I would shoot it.
Yeah. So because you name yourself as a fashion photographer. So
yep.
What did you do in the fashion photography to be known in this world?
Well, all I did was some of my early work in fashion photography for free. I'd find designers I liked, or designers would contact me. They didn't have much money. And yeah, I'd do a contra with them, or I would say, hey, yeah, I'll shoot your stuff your way for you, but I want the clothes, and I'm going to pick my own models and shoot it my way, and then I'll submit it to magazines as editorial. And more, the people were saying, hey, you just shoot it your way. So we don't know what we're doing, but we like what you do. And it just went from there. In Australia, it just there's a few magazines that jumped on my style and liked my style. I never got into that clique. That's every country has a clique of, their favorite Vogue photographers and that, but I didn't want to be in that clique because those people had to shoot what other people wanted, whereas I wanted to shoot what I wanted to shoot.
Yeah. So you make your own way in fashion photography, but then you started to teach photography, and you are giving a lot of lessons. I mean, you are organizing a lot of workshops. That one of them that I attended in Milan. So you are going around the world to have these workshops. So do you continue to be a fashion photographer, or did you stop that and you are just making these workshops?
The workshops just started by mistake. It wasn't planned. I was asked by one of the suppliers who supplied gear I bought gear for the studio. They said, look, we've got a photo show coming up. We want someone to demonstrate some fashion shooting on stage. So I got on stage and showed some quick fashion shooting. And then the next year, so I was shooting with Hasselblad. The Hasselblad people in Australia said, hey, we want you to do that for us on our stage. And when I did that, all of a sudden I had all these people saying, where can we learn what you're doing? Because I was just doing really quick setups and really quick. I'd go from this look, take 3 pictures, see now, move the light from this look, 3 pictures. And people couldn't believe how everything I did just gave a different look, and it was really quick and everything looked good. It was all projected live on the screen, so everybody could see exactly what the picture looked like, with just little changes made a big change to the picture. So people started contacting me and asking me at the show, look, we want to learn from you. And I just said, well, I'm not really a teacher, and I'm self-taught myself, and I don't have rules. And I'd been to maybe 10 different workshops myself trying to learn the fashion side of things, and hated the workshops, just really very expensive and not learning anything, except learning how to make my job harder, not easier. Nothing was easy. Everything became harder. And after I did one quite a few years ago, 15 or 20 years ago, I had this style. It was light meter, and I could do up to 15 lights with a light meter, and every light would have a different reading, and I could set it up perfect. I didn't even need to see the image. I knew what it was going to look like, but it was really boring photography. It was like perfect portraiture, but it had no soul. And the model couldn't move like an inch. Otherwise the light messed up. So I decided to just spend a weekend with a couple of models in the studio and learn how to use one light properly. And then once I did that, I pretty much still shoot today with one light. And a lot of my teachings, as you would know, is sort of, even though I'll do multi-lighting, I still on the subject try and only use one light on the subject. Getting back onto the story from there, the workshops, I just did a couple of workshops, and then next minute people just kept asking. It's not I still do my normal work. It's just I do less of the work I don't want to do.
Well, when you do the work that you want to do, usually you are a happy man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned this long time ago, and it's very important to do what you like in your life. So, as you are a self-taught photographer, as you said, do you had some influences from other photographers looking at their pictures and they said, "Oh, it's nice. I want to take picture like that," or "Oh, to." Who influenced you, do you think?
There's a lot, not just photographers, filmmakers as well, but a lot of the early, like my eye into fashion, I was attracted to people like Helmut Newton, Avedon, Patrick Demichelia, Peter Limburg. They were sort of some major ones that attracted me. Irving Penn, I like some of his stuff. They're just, and they're mainly black and white photographers, but I still like David LaChapelle, who was predominantly a color photographer, but he always had amazing stories. And I would look at each photographer for different reasons. It was sort of, some were about the story, some were about the eyes, some were about the lighting. And I think my style is a mishmash of all of those people, with a little bit of Quentin Tarantino as well.
So in fact, it's something that I am curious about it, because when you take a picture, somebody told, a famous photographer told that it's the total of everything you had in your life, in the books you read, the pictures you saw, the paintings you saw, everything comes together, and you take the picture on the influence of everything that you learned until that time. So you are influenced, as you say, by movies, films of Quentin Tarantino. And what about the books, the paintings? You are a musician too. So how do you think that all this came together to change your photography?
Well,
to shape your photography?
When people say, how long have you been a photographer? I say, well, since I could see. Because everything that I've seen in my life has an effect on the way I look at things, and will have an effect on the story or the lighting. You know, I might have seen a movie that had this really cool look, and I get into a similar situation on the street and think, oh, that's just like this movie, I love this, and then work that theme in. It's no different to a painter or a musician. It's the things you grab, the things that you like as you're growing through life, and you block out the things you don't like. And my photography is a mixture of all my favorite photos, paintings, and movies and music that I've ever seen, because anybody who loves music knows that they can close their eyes and all of a sudden this film starts. Well, you start seeing things that go with the music. So
one question still about the one light. So when you use one source of light in the studio, how do you know, or how did you master how did you come to this point to know how to light the model, how to have the result you want? Is by practice, or you already had some notion about it? I mean, what's your...
No, it's straight out by me spending 2 whole days in the studio only using one light. I realized how much freedom that gave me as a photographer to work. The model didn't have to stand exactly there. They could move a little bit, they could turn their head a little bit, and we could get different looks. And what it comes down to, and when people see me setting up what I'd call one of my art shots using one light, it can take me an hour to set that one light. And I might only be moving the light that much each time. And it's just this fine tuning of the amount of, so I can have the light pointing at the background or feathered on the background.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can have the light close to the background and feathered off, or close and pointing, or a long way away and feather it. So I've got this distance and the direction of light and where I move the light is all to work the background. So I'll get my background right. Now with my subject sitting here, now I move my subject to get the subject lit, to get my background how I want my background, and then the subject lit to how I want the subject. And it's all by eye. There's no rules. It's all by my eye. And I've had clients on the very first frame go, "We love that." And I say, "No, it's not ready. Give me another half an hour till I've got it right."
Yeah, so it's a gift, I guess. Everybody cannot understand the light like that.
What a lot of people do is they make big changes. And I have a thing that a lot of my workshops, I'll do something, I'll move the light. I might just tilt the light just a little bit. I might only move it this much. And I'll take a picture and I'll say to everybody, "So why did I do that?" And everyone wants to come up with technical answers. And I say, I wanted to see if it was better or worse. Right? Yeah. So if I move it a little bit and it got better, I think, oh, if I moved it a little bit more, did that get better? Oh, that got better. Let's try it a little. Oh, no, that got worse. So that was better. Maybe twist it this way. Is it better or worse? And it's those fine little, and it's just letting my eyes tell me, is this what I want or can I make it better?
And a lot of tries. You
a lot
try
of tries.
Yeah.
But then you're training yourself while you're doing all of this. So quite often you'll see this and go, oh no, that's right. And you already know if I turn it this much and turn it this much, I know it's going to give me a better effect. But you can't teach someone that. They've got to actually learn how to manipulate that light with direction, distance, and placement to be able to work that one light so many different ways.
And you have to spend a lot of time to find the right way to do it, to understand.
If you want to be a good, if you want to be a good piano player, you've got to spend a lot of time playing piano.
Yeah, the same. So
same, 10,000 hours.
Yes.
I think there's a few big hurdles with photography today. To go out and chase money, to make money as a photographer, if you just want to make millions of dollars out of photography, give it up now. Do IT.
Yeah.
Because you'll end up doing stuff you don't like doing, because that's the only way you're going to get work, is by doing what other people want, not what you want. And you're going to have to do a lot of it, and you're going to have to set up workflows that are really quick, that make good money, and all of those type of things. So it's like a business. Well, most people get into photography, don't get into photography to shoot shoes 24/7. They want to shoot this, but their money might only be in shoes. So they might want to shoot beautiful landscapes. There's no money in there. So how do they start a business? So it's really important to understand that the arts, like photography and that, especially the way that iPhones and everything else has come along, the way fashion industry is so disposable now, so they don't have the money now for big, expensive shoots. A lot of designers shoot on iPhones now. And people are happy to see it that way. So with that side, if you want to get into photography, you've got to get in as an artist. And that way you have one part of your life that earns you money, and then the other part of the life is your hobby, which can be that you do your art, you create your art. And if you spend a lot of time doing it, you get people that'll start paying you for what you do.
But as you mentioned, now everybody who has a camera, a phone has a camera.
Yep.
The phones are they began to be so sophisticated that they are approaching quite fast to some cameras that we have, huge cameras that we have. I know that you are ambassador of Hasselblad, for example. But the phone are not at that level yet, fortunately. But everyone who has a phone considers himself as a photographer. So where is the line of an art photographer,
right,
and the phone photographer?
You can be an art, like a photographer I like a lot, Nick Knight, has shot quite a few covers using an iPhone.
Yeah,
he didn't do it as a gimmick. It gave an effect he wanted. And by using the iPhone was the best way to get the look he wanted. It comes down to, look, there's everybody in the world, or so many people want to be an actor. How many people actually make it as an actor?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need any gear to be an actor. You don't need to be able to sing. You don't need to be able to dance. You don't have to be able to paint or anything. Anybody can say, I want to be an actor.
Okay.
Right? You'll get some people get on YouTube and do stuff, and next minute they get seen. Everyone loves what they do. They were never trained, and all of a sudden they make money out of being in front of people. The same, it's like painting. Anybody can paint. You don't have to have expensive gear to paint. You can just get a pencil and sketch, right, on a piece of toilet paper. You can be an artist drawing on toilet paper. See, it's not, everyone likes to blame technology. The skill is in creating things that people enjoy to look and want to look at again and again and again. So there quite often needs to be a story. There needs to be something in there that keeps bringing you back. Just a happy girl going smile, nothing. There's no reason you need to see that picture a second time. But when you get, say, the picture of that Afghani girl on the cover of Time magazine, you can look at that picture 1,000 times.
Indeed.
Mona Lisa smile, right?
Yeah.
Every time you look at the picture, the smile's different. Every time you look at the Afghani, in fact, the Afghani girl, I worked it out, is if you, whatever you're feeling at the time you look at the picture is what you see in her eyes.
So the picture is defined not only by the photographer, by the people who use it at that time. Yeah, at that time, and with their own position or own feelings at that time. So it is influenced. Yep. Yeah. So that's right.
So some of my work, I like working with stories that I call it my mirrors. I put things into the picture and I don't tell people why they're in there. I let everyone else make up their mind. Mm-hmm. Because a photo should not have a story. And a story should not have a photo.
Yes.
So if you're reading a book and the book says there's this hill and there's a white house on top of the hill with a dead tree and a picket fence, everybody sees a different looking house. Same with a photo.
In their mind.
And in a photo, every photo has its own story. If you make the story too simple, it's boring. It doesn't hold them in there. You need a story that could be this, could be that, could be something different. Yeah. I've watched a couple of movies recently and they were very uncomfortable to watch.
Which movies?
Because I wasn't understanding the story. I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know what to expect. And these movies actually ended up at the end of the movie, still didn't answer my story. It didn't tell me the story. They're some of the best movies I've seen lately. And I was so frustrated watching them, but it kept my mind thinking. I wasn't just sitting there going, I was actually, I was always trying to work out, where was this going? What's this, what? And, Ghost Story is a perfect one. It's a very slow movie. And I reckon if you put 10 people to watch it and ask 10 people what the story was, I think you'll find there's a big difference because it's left it so open for you. And it was a fantastic movie. Cinematography was to die for, but nothing much happened in an hour and a half. But it was a movie that had a major effect on me. I'd watch it again because I think I'd pick up on lots. Whereas then you watch a big blockbuster come out and you go, it's hit lots of action and there was this and that, but it didn't allow you to do anything. It told you everything. It jammed it down your face and you walked away going, oh, well, that was 1 hour.
So you need a movie that makes you think about it and you address your imagination.
The amount of people that don't get Tarantino's latest movie, and when I drop them a couple of hints, they say, I've got to watch that again. Yeah. I said, the hint is in the title, Once Upon a Time. What's that? A fairy tale.
Yes.
This is based in Hollywood. Now watch it again. You'll see that Hollywood is a fairy tale, and everybody who lives in Hollywood is living this fairy tale. And you watch it again, and then you start to realize that Tarantino is so clever.
He changed this history in the movie.
Well, he did that with Inglourious Bastards. He had Hitler die in a... well, what's the use? Everyone knows how he died, so you're not going to know. With a Tarantino movie, you don't know the ending, because even if he bases it on a story, he's going to change it to his story.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a YouTube about it, 27 minutes. I watch it.
Gear makes us feel good. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to take a better photo. So if you don't have the gear, that's not an excuse. You should be able to go out and take a great photo on an iPhone. Good artists can draw with a pencil on toilet paper. A good photographer can grab anything and create a great photo. The other thing is no rules.
Yes.
No rules in photography. It is art. If you want to take a picture of a black wall, pitch black, and put it in a frame, that is art.
I did it. It's
Nobody
art.
needs to get it.
Yeah.
So they're the main things that too many photographers listen to. You never critique. You never send your work to someone else to look at because they're not your buyer. You don't know who your buyer is. The buyer is the person that goes, I love your photos. Can I buy one? That's your buyer. The person who goes, oh, I would have cropped this different. He was never your buyer. He would never buy your work because he's taking his own photos.
Yes.
So don't take photos for people who would never buy anything off you. They're not your clients. They're not your viewers. So it's very important for you to realize that your photography has to come from you. It can't, nobody else can tell you. I don't critique photographers' work. I tell them, you look at it, what's wrong with it? If you can't see anything wrong with it, there's your style. If you want me to tell you what's wrong with it, that's for my style, and I'm not going to buy your work, so why do you want me to tell you what to do? So just really simple things about photos. You take photos, you use your eyes, use your loves and hates in life and in colors or in black and whites, in highly saturated or desaturated, blurry or sharp, film or digital. That's what you do. And nobody can tell you what's right or wrong because there is no right or wrong. It's what I did. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
That's all right. See you later.
See you later. Bye.